Gurubhyo Namaha. A very warm welcome to yet another session of Weekend with Wisdom. Today we have with us Swami Chidananda ji, who is joining us all the way from Mumbai. I guess, right, Swamiji? Are you presently in Mumbai? Swamiji, are you presently in Mumbai? Can you
I
hear
am
me?
in Mumbai.
Yeah, okay. So Swamiji is joining us all the way from Mumbai for the session. Before we proceed, let me begin with a small prayer. वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम. Today Swami Chidananda ji will be speaking on a very interesting topic, one which is very, very relevant for all of us. The title is the search for search for happiness, a Vedanta perspective. So I think happiness is something all of us want. Nobody says that I want to be sad, I want to suffer, I want sorrow. So essentially, the human life itself is a quest for happiness and satiation. So, but of course, desiring it and accomplishing it is two different things. So here is Vedanta comes into the picture because it gives us understanding about what true happiness is and how to attain it. So Swamiji will be shedding more light on all these things in these two talks today and tomorrow. Just a brief introduction. Swami Chidananda ji is a very well-known teacher of Vedanta, and he has been delivering talks and various sessions, webinars, etc., on human values, self-knowledge, self-inquiry, and many Vedanta-related subjects as well. He was drawn to Puja Swami Chinmayananda ji in 1980, and he joined the Master's Ashram in Mumbai in 1984. There he served the Chinmaya mission for 18 years in India and USA. He also taught two residential Vedanta courses during that time, and several of his students of those days are Swamis and Swaminis in different parts of the world. Apart from this, Swami Chidananda ji has been greatly impacted by Sri Ramana Maharshi and Jiddu Krishnamurti, and he spent 10 years at Krishnamurti Center in Varanasi. Since 2006, Swamiji is heading a FOVI forum, where FOVI stands for Flame of Who Am I. So Swamiji is also author of several books like The Equanimous Mind, Erase the Ego, and Light on Right Living. He has spoken on various texts, and more than 500 of his talks are available on YouTube at the FOVI channel. And over the years, he has also delivered lectures at academic institutions such as IIMs, ISB, IITs, etc., and also in the corporate sectors and corporate platforms such as Microsoft India, Infosys, and many other places. Based in Mumbai since 2022, he is about to open an ashram called Jnana Shakti at a village in Maharashtra, less than 3 hours drive from either Mumbai or Pune. A very warm welcome to you, Swamiji. Thank you for taking time for this session amidst your busy schedule. Please go ahead. We are waiting to listen to your session.
Thank you, Nitin. I'm indeed very glad to join Indica Moksha to share some thoughts on a Vedanta perspective to search for happiness. What is Vedanta? For those who might be totally new I will spend 2 minutes on defining Vedanta. Vedanta is a part of the Veda. It is the ultimate message of the four Vedas, though in quantity it might constitute a smaller number of mantras. It is, in terms of the importance of its message, on top of all the teachings of the Vedas. Vedas do teach many other topics, but all the topics, all the themes, all the subjects come to a crescendo, come to a culmination. At the top of it all stand certain pieces, certain portions of the Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. In all of them, there are certain portions which are called Upanishads. Primarily, Upanishads themselves are Vedanta, and Vedanta is Upanishads. Secondarily, there are many other works which also bring out the same message following the Upanishadic teachings. Therefore, they are also called the Vedanta. Bhagavad Gita is considered a Vedanta text. Then there are a number of works like Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, Panchadashi, Viveka Chudamani, Upadeshasara, or Advaita Makaranda, Vedanta Sara, and so on and so forth. And great many sages, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, and others have experienced, have shared their insights, their experience, their wisdom very much in line with the Upanishads, knowingly or unknowingly. Their teachings go so well with what was said in the Upanishads, and thus the teachings of Maharshi Ramana or Nisargadatta and so on, Vivekananda and Chinmayananda and so on, are also Vedanta. Today we want to talk about happiness. Somebody might imagine, oh, all this Vedanta is some philosophy for very few people. Vast majority of humanity have no interest in the Vedanta. Because they don't know what Vedanta is, no wonder they have no interest. But as Nitin Sridhar rightly said in his introductory remarks, happiness is something that everybody wants. A 1-year-old child to a 100-year-old adult, ask them, what above all do you want? They say happiness. And happiness is actually the subject, is the benefit of Vedanta. In the Vedanta Shastras themselves, in the numerous texts on Vedanta, the question is raised using a Sanskrit word, Vedantanam kim prayojanam. Prayojana is benefit. Prayojana is what you get if you sincerely study the Vedanta. The answer given is Atyantika Sukham. Happiness that is ultimate, that lasts, that doesn't come to an end. That is the answer. Along with it, it is also said, Dukkha Nivritti. Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti, Paramananda Prapti. That is the technical expression. Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti. Sorrow ends once for all. And Paramananda Prapti. Supreme bliss is yours. This is what is declared from the rooftop when it comes to why we must study the Vedanta, the Upanishads, the Gita, and so on. Once in Hong Kong, my Vedanta master, Pujya Gurudev Swami Chidananda was in the midst of 100 people. And they were having some evening snacks, coffee, tea, and so on. And all of them, since Swamiji was not talking, he was also enjoying a cup of coffee. All of them were talking about something or the other. The whole hall was a bit noisy. Swami Chinmayananda did something very interesting. He lifted his cup of coffee up in the air and said, "Who says there is no happiness in sense objects?" His voice was so loud, he almost roared, and everybody in the hall stopped talking, and some of them did not hear it well because they were lost in their own conversations and there was noise around them. They looked at Swamiji and were wondering, what did he say? Swamiji again held the cup of coffee high and said, "Who says there is no happiness in sense objects?" What a wonderful coffee this is. The lady who made the coffee must have been supremely happy. That's a side issue. But he said, "This coffee has made me immensely happy." Don't say sense objects do not have happiness. The only problem is the happiness that you and I derive from sense objects, something to drink, something to eat, something to possess, some chair to sit on, some travel, seeing places of interest, and so on. Happiness that you derive from external objects is finite and it comes to an end. It is temporary. You and I want lasting happiness, unalloyed happiness, purest happiness. And how on the earth are we to get that pure happiness? Friends, that is the topic of Gita, of Upanishads, how we may discover greatest happiness which does not come to an end, and so on. One chapter in Panchadashi, a well-known Vedanta work, towards the end of the text, Panchadashi has 15 chapters. Panchadasha Adhyayaha Yasmin Saha Panchadashi. In that Grantha, one chapter is devoted to Vishayanande Brahmanandaha. When you eat a Mysore pak, when you enjoy a good coffee, that is Vishayananda. But the Vedanta uncompromisingly says, though that happiness seems to be coming from Mysore pak or from coffee, actually its source is your own pure self. Let me make the Vedanta's position about happiness very clear right in the beginning. Vedanta says your nature is happiness. However, there is a certain ignorance and then erroneous perception. Your attention is somewhere else, and what is worse, you are identified with where your attention is going. Spiritual practices are all about turning your attention to something higher and higher, more and more worthy. You are sitting in a room, on one corner, there is some delicious ice cream. And another corner, there is a statue of Adi Shankaracharya, serene face, the champion of Advaita Vedanta. You have just had a good meal. You are not hungry, you are not thirsty. But because of your fickleness of the mind, you could turn your attention to the ice cream and you can wonder, maybe I can go and help myself to 2 scoops of that ice cream. Not a bad idea. I think it is kept for anybody to go and pick up. Mind is paying attention to ice cream. Whereas, let me tell you, if you join Vedanta classes, not just listen to lectures, but do certain practices at home, do certain sadhana on your own, in due course of time, you will succeed. Start your day with yoga, go for a morning walk, and reduce some silly occupations, silly indulgences. Take what is moderate. Nobody says don't eat ice cream, but don't be a slave to ice cream. Don't be enslaved by sense pleasures. Everything has a place, but everything should be in its place. When you do sadhana, another day, maybe 5 years down the road, you will again be in a hall where in one corner there is ice cream, another corner the statue of Adi Shankaracharya. You will see there is a change in you. You will not turn your attention to the ice cream, though you know. You will turn your eyes towards Adi Shankara's statue and looking at his serene face, bringing to your mind his central teachings, you will close your eyes and say to yourself, Aham Asmi Satchidananda. I am Sat, I am Chit, I am Ananda. That's what this great master said. And over 1,000 years, so many sages and saints in different parts of the world. In India, you can talk about Santa Jnaneshwar in Maharashtra, Maharshi Ramana in Tamil Nadu, Nisargadatta in this commercial Bombay, Mumbai. There was Nisargadatta enjoying supreme bliss. Women and men and children, everybody. Anandamayi Ma of Bengal lived in the bliss of inner happiness, not because they had money or some power or some pleasurable objects always within reach. Many times they were in some place where it was hot or very uncomfortable, but they were in bliss. So you turn your attention to Sri Shankaracharya and turn your mind inward. That is how you will find that there is happiness inside. The Vedanta says your nature is happiness. Then the mind is externalized. Don't waste much time on finding out the reasons. How it happened, why it happened, when it happened, whom shall we blame for the state of affairs? Was it my parents who made me extrovert? Was it my classmates at high school that made me extrovert? Don't waste your time. No matter how it happened, your job now is to turn yourself, turn your mind inside, train yourself to be in touch with your own inner happiness. Vedanta gives you all the theory and in a manner of saying practices. Why I add manner of saying is as you understand the teachings more and more clearly, when jnana, when clear understanding dawns upon you, technically there is no practice needed. But day-to-day life, the way we are, considering the level of consciousness where you and I are, certain practices are required. However, the Siddhanta is when there is clarity of understanding, the need for practice vanishes. Let's not hurry up with it or let's not be hasty. Let's not stop our japa tapa etc. because some Vedanta book says when you know it, the job is done. You don't have to do anything. Be careful. Many Vedanta students have paid a heavy price by reading such statements which are true, but where they went wrong was they overestimated their own level of consciousness. So they give the example of the musk deer. The musk deer smelled something very fragrant. Wow, what a wonderful smell. Where is the smell coming from? And the musk deer went all over the forest, it seems, trying to find out where the wonderful fragrance, perfume is to be found. Finally, the musk deer finds out that that fragrance was coming from a part of its own body. Examples are in large number, but you and I should not stay content with the literary beauty of examples, the poetry, with the very many decorations that writers bring about, we must be seriously asking, is it true that I am happy by nature? If it is so, I will spare no effort. I will leave no stone unturned till I train my mind, I train my senses. Swami Chidananda said so well, there is happiness in coffee. But then, does everybody enjoy coffee? There are many people who at the sight of coffee turn their face away. That shows that your mind has somehow got habituated. And because of the habits, vasanas, sanskara, tendencies, repetitive urges, whatever you may call them, the mind takes you for a ride. So you are of the nature of happiness, but the mind is noisy, then you take a cup of coffee and you drink it. Ah, how nice, you say. Vedanta says what actually happened is the agitated mind was made quiet by coffee in your case. For somebody else, it could be Mysore Pak. For somebody else, it could be going and watching some beautiful place of natural splendor. Doesn't matter. For somebody, it is X. For somebody, it is Y. But Vedanta says the inside story is the same. Whether X made the mind quiet in the case of the first person, Y made the mind quiet in the case of the second person, Z made the mind quiet in the case of the third person. What is common to all of them is something or the other, depending on how their mind had been programmed, made the mind quiet, and the happiness that they actually experienced was not from coffee or Mysore Pak, from Niagara Falls, or from the tallest statue in the world, Statue of Unity, Sardar Patel's statue in Gujarat. You go and see. Ah, how wonderful. Your mind became quiet. When the mind became quiet, you actually experience your own happiness. This is simple Vedanta. And Vedanta says, no wonder when you go to deep sleep, maybe in a Vedanta class sometimes, you are extremely happy. When your mind is not functioning in deep sleep, or when you have fainted, others are all afraid. What happened to him? This man has fainted. This lady fell down in front of our eyes. Oh my God, she has fainted, unconscious. But the lady who fell down unconscious, and after people sprinkled some water on her face, woke up, says, where am I? Ah. And you ask that lady, what was your experience? You was in bliss. When the mind becomes quiet, you are in bliss. So the problem is not sadness or sorrow by itself. The problem is your mind, my mind, her mind, his mind, the mind of the American, the mind of the Australian, everybody's mind, alas, for some reason, which is a different matter to explore, has been externalized. That's what an Upanishad says. Katha Upanishad in its third chapter says, Paranchikani vetranat swayambhuhu tasmat parang pashyati antaratman kaschidiraha pratyagatmanamaishat avratta chakshuhu amritatvamichan. Wherever you go, you will find the indriya, sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin, and to some extent or in a little different way, but with some similarity, the organs of action also. Your tongue wants to speak. Your hand wants to pick up something. Your legs want to go somewhere. There are urges. There are irresistible forces at work in the senses, in the organs of action, in the mind, in the intellect. Right? So, because of that, the Upanishad mantra says, Parang Pashyati. Everybody is turning her attention outward. Why do you let your attention go outward? I don't know. Somebody was studying for next day some assignment, some project, some work or some examination. It was already 11:45. Oh, I'm so tired, let me sleep. And he is about to turn his computer off. Then suddenly an advertisement popped up. And that advertisement had some two girls dancing and some boy doing some pranks. The person who just now said, I'm so tired, I am going to drop dead now, is interested. Vasana, habitual tendency at work. He clicks on that. And the whole video opens up. 20 minutes of dance and music and fun and mischief and this and that. One sees it with all attention. Though one is getting more tired on another side, this is called Parang Pashyati. Nobody turns inward. No Antaratman. One rare soul looks within, for she wants immortality. Amritattvam icchan. This way. So, the whole Vedanta, which recognizes techniques, steps, something to do, something to go where, somewhere to go, etc., it respects. But on the higher level, Vedanta has this to say. It says, when you know your true nature, nothing else is needed. If there are other practices and techniques and things to do, they are to facilitate this knowledge, this wisdom. So Vedanta is not opposed to karma. Karma meaning doing our duty, serving people, or karma could be religious karma. Sit down and pray God, worship. Pujanam japaha chintanam kramat, says Sri Ramana Maharshi in Upadesha Sara. You may worship a god form with a Krishna statue in front of you. You chant mantras, you offer flowers at the feet of the Krishna statue, and so on. Karma is good. Or you join some social service organization. Whole day you do things for the benefit of some poor people, some sick people. On the surface you are not getting anything. But on a deeper level, you feel, today was a meaningful day. I did something meaningful. And your mind is at peace. Vedanta says, sure, do karma. Above all, do your duty. Charity begins at home. At your home, help your family members. Be less agitated or less given to anger, less given to, irritation and so on. Even when you get a little annoyed at your brother's behavior, at your mother's behavior, hold on. Some bad word may come to the tip of your tongue, but hold on. Gather yourself and say to your mother something very softly. Let's say she made a coffee for you where the sugar was missing. You just say, Ma, you forgot sugar. Can you please bring some sugar? With a smile. The mother also smiles and, oh, nowadays, beta, I am getting old, so I'm forgetful. So she goes and brings sugar. So simple as that. Instead of forgetting, fretting and fuming and taking it out on your mother and her mood is spoiled and so on. Vedanta highly endorses life of noble values, life of moral values, life of good behavior. Vedanta says that will help you, that will bring you closer to Vedanta, Vedanta classes will make better sense to you if you live a life of values. Alas, a lot of Vedanta students and some teachers also, sorry to say, talk all that Vedanta, but their actual private life is not so much in order. They are prone to get angry, or they may indulge in some pleasures. Their eyes may be upon wealth, alas. Then, yeah, they may get wealthy, they may enjoy things of the world, but what Vedanta had promised to them and what they study, what they teach, the Paramananda Prapti, Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti, and Paramananda Prapti remains a distant dream for them. They have their own agitations, their own sorrow, they have their own sleepless nights. Therefore, karma is helpful. Karmana chitta shuddhihi, mind becomes purer. What about bhakti? Vedanta does not say bhakti is opposed to jnana. Bhakti is when you train your emotions, when your love, which was earlier for power and position, now is directed towards the Lord. I love God. I love my Guru, Guru Bhakti, Isha Bhakti or Ishvara Bhakti, Shastra Bhakti, Desha Bhakti. So, in some form or the other, if love is turned towards objects of greater value, definitely mind becomes purer. Same way, what about yoga? A while ago I said, you may be a great intellectual, great Vedantin, but for heaven's sake, spend some 20 to 30 minutes at least, if not more, on yoga. As you get older, why do you want to be a burden to others with ill health? Spend 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes in asana and pranayama. It's not just for good health, not just for saving medical bills, but in your Vedanta study, it's going to help you. Because when you are relatively more fit, and mind you, I'm not here to talk on yoga. Indica has a wonderful vertical in yoga too. But today this talk is under Indica Moksha. I am told Indica, this wonderful organization that is put together by a few people, has some 10 verticals. Yoga we know, Moksha that is Vedanta Jnana, and then there is one I suppose on Ayurveda. Indica has several verticals and I compliment them. They are doing such good work. And in Bengaluru, if you are a resident there or if you visit Bengaluru, try to join a program in Indica's very nice retreat center, Ritambhara. Just last month, towards the end of last month, I conducted a 2-day Vedanta workshop or retreat at Ritambhara. And the participants and I myself were so happy. So coming back, Indica Yoga is one vertical. And I'm here to just make a passing reference to yoga. Those of us who might be intellectuals, who might be giving big lectures, who might be reading big books, etc., would do well to do some yoga. And yoga is not only keeping the body fit, but even the mind more agile, alert. Yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. So Vedanta accommodates, respects, recognizes karma, bhakti, yoga, and many other noble ways of living, noble things to do, saying all of them help you get receptive, get ready to get that great insight that you are yourself of the nature of happiness. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, I'm going to give you some examples of how Upanishads and allied texts have touched upon happiness. So, Upanishad has many dialogues. It's such a wonderful work. A little voluminous. I myself did not touch it for years and years, but in the last 7 or 8 years, I have actually, I'm in so much love with Upanishad. Sometimes I think I'll stop everything else, take a sabbatical, 2 years off, and study the entire Upanishad with the Shankara Bhashya. 2 years may not be enough. It's very voluminous. Okay, in Upanishad, in the second chapter, a wife says to her husband, how do I experience, how do I come upon endless bliss? How do I conquer death? Amritattva. And the wife's name was Maitreyi, a very wise, a very mature lady indeed. And her husband, Rishi Yadnavalkya, is so delighted to hear that question itself. And so lovingly he says to her, Maitreyi, you have asked such a valuable question. Let me tell you, in this world, somebody says, my happiness is in the wealth that I have. But wealth is not the source of happiness. The real source of happiness is the Atma. Today, at a certain phase of your life, your mind is doing some noise. I want wealth, I want wealth. And then when you get wealth, the mind becomes quiet and you become happy. It seems that this wealth brought happiness to you. So, Yajnavalkya says, it is not wealth, but it is Atma. That is the seat of happiness. Wealth and sun and, number of things, some 9 to 10 factors are mentioned. In the context of each of those factors, Yajnavalkya says, it seems that people love wealth, but what they love is really their own natural inner happiness. They are not aware of it. They declare, they say loudly, nothing else matters to me. I want more wealth. I want a very wonderful, able, cooperative husband. Husband is mentioned. Somebody says, a man says, I don't love anything more than my lovely wife. So, husband, wife, son, daughter, including, the books, the scriptures, so many things are mentioned. And the punchline in that scintillating dialogue in the second chapter of Upanishad from Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda, there is the line, the punchline, Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. Anything and everything becomes dear to you on the surface because of its own merit, but on a deeper level, anything and everything is dear to you because there is the longing to come in touch with your own true nature. And the mind is obstructing that particular object or person, makes the mind quiet, and you experience your own inner happiness. That's the truth. The language used is Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhakti. Everything becomes dear to you for the pleasure of for the gratification of the Atma. But what it means is for you and me to come in touch with our own true self. Everything becomes dear or becomes attractive. Bhagavad Gita is also a Vedanta. In chapter 5, Sri Krishna makes some wonderful comments. Says, everybody wants happiness, but they go after sense contacts or some such things which have a beginning and an end. If there is some activity, if there is some indulgence, if there is some engagement, if there is some taking or leaving, you and I do that. We take something and say, I'm so happy I got this. And some other time we get rid of something and say, I'm so relieved. I got rid of this old car for a good price. Now I'm going to buy a new one. So you get rid of an old car, you buy a new car, old house, new house. This, all this. But all of them have a beginning and an end. In a powerful shloka in the chapter 5th, Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate. As you and I get mature, Vedanta doesn't say suddenly stop drinking coffee or eating Mysore pak. You have been eating, all right, but inquire and study. Do spiritual practices. Start your day with yoga. Such things. You know what will happen then? Then your dependence on Mysore pak, your dependence on coffee becomes lessened. And Sri Krishna says, Samsparshaja bhogaha. Samsparsha means contact. I take a Mysore pak and put it in my mouth. Samsparsha, contact. The sense organ, the tongue, came in contact with the sense object, the sweet. That is samsparsha. In due course of time, they lead to sorrow. As simple as on some day there is no sweet available anywhere. You have gone to some God-forsaken place, as they call it, and no sweets available. You are so miserable. You are missing. That happened because you at one time had such a dependence on sweets, right? So that's the problem. So dukkha yonaya, it leads to sorrow eventually. Adyantavantaha, they have a beginning, adi and anta. Nateshu ramate buddhaha. Wise people do not exult. Wise people do not say, how nice and so on. They enjoy some pleasures as they encounter. Once in Pune, I was in some conference. Probably it was a conference called Reverence for All Life. Sindhi community hold once a year a certain event where vegetarianism is highlighted. Anyway, in that conference, I met this great yoga teacher, V.K.S. Iyengar. Very old he was. And now he is no more. So I met him, and we were all standing with a plate of some food at lunch break, And I approached him, so upon seeing him, to say namaste, V.K.S. Iyengar, the big name in yoga. And I saw on his plate, not one, but two big-sized gulab jamuns were there. So I just said, sir, it seems you love sweets. He said, yes, I love gulab jamun, and put one of them in his mouth. He was so healthy, fit, and it was so wonderful. But it shows that spirituality is not against pleasures. So you may have some pleasure, but as we said before, do not lose your freedom. If need be, you should be able to be without them also. The same 5th chapter of Gita, which is, a Vedanta work in that sense. Vedanta is Moksha Shastra, and Gita is both Moksha Shastra and Dharma Shastra. Gita teaches us about performance of duty without selfish or egoistic overtones. Gita teaches us on various human values, Satya, Ahimsa, and so on. So that is Dharma. And Gita teaches us Moksha Shastra. the science of liberation. So in the 5th chapter, referring once more to how we need to train, not just talk about training. We need to train our senses and our mind. Sri Krishna says, whoever in this life itself, much before he takes his last breath, whoever brings about a certain restraint on desire and anger rising in his bosom, such a person is Sukhi. Such a person alone is happy. Who gets happiness? Not the one who has lots of wealth, not the one whose picture comes in the media every second day, not one who is very talented, dances or sings or runs fast in the Olympic race. God bless all of them. But the person who actually gets lasting happiness is he or she who has controlled his or her urges. Shaknoti haiva yassodhum praksharira vimokshanat कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं sayuktaha sasukhi raha. So both the references I made to happiness are from Gita, from 5th chapter for now. Now going back to Upanishads, which are, as I said, primarily Upanishads are the Vedanta. Vedanto nama Upanishad pramanam. Upanishads reveal something by saying Tattvamasi, by declaring Aham Brahmasmi, by declaring Prajnanam Brahma. Consciousness is the ultimate truth, not mind, not body, not sense objects. In you, there is certain pure consciousness. Understand it, stay by it, stay in it, anchor yourself in it. So, Prajnanam Brahma from Aitareya Upanishad, Ayamatma Brahma from Mandukya Upanishad, Tattvamasi from Chandogya Upanishad, and Aham Brahmasmi in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. These are examples of Mahavakyas. They are revelations. Vedanta reveals right away. Some people are very hesitant to say like that. They say Vedanta helps you question yourself. Yeah, it does all that. But actually, it just reveals. Some people are so conditioned by certain other schools of thought where there is a certain resistance to anybody telling us. The certain schools of thought, do not like being told. The words they like is, you inquire, you find out, don't take anything from anybody. Well, that approach may have some merit in it, but Upanishads place before you the truth. Upanishads do not hesitate to reveal. Vedanto nama Upanishad pramanam. Just as eyes are the pramana. Pramana means of knowledge. To know color or form. Somebody holds before you, asking you first to close your eyes, and you close your eyes. Somebody places on the table before you an object and say, open your eyes, and you open your eyes. If you have functioning eyes, working eyes, healthy eyes, with no dust upon the eyes, then moment the eyes are open, you see maybe an earthen pot. An earthen pot which is spherical in shape. A spherical pot, your eyes will show you. Just like that, if you have a pure mind, if you have a receptive mind, Through karma and upasana, you have risen to a certain level of, ability to understand your buddhi upon being exposed to the statement of the Upanishad, Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma, and so on, will just get that insight. So Vedanta is a body of revelations. Reveal means to show to you what already is. Now, to give a reference to a Upanishad from the Samaveda, in Chandogya Upanishad, Rishi Sanat Kumara says to Narada, anything that is finite, anything that is itself finite, cannot give you lasting happiness. It itself is finite, and the happiness it can give you also is finite. Na alpe sukhamasti. Alpa means finite. Finite means limited in time, limited in space, limited in terms of causation. It itself is caused by something else. X has come from Y. And then X is the cause for some Z. So a seed has come from a tree. And the tree in turn brings out seeds. So you have cause and effect. Swami Vivekananda used to say, this phenomenal universe is marked by space, time, and causation. All the sciences, all the subjects actually under the sun, analyze and find out what caused what, and what can this cause further. Every event, even historians talk about causes. What caused the white people to come to India? The Dutch and the French and the British and so many others, Portuguese, they came to India. Why did they come at all? Before even that, the Mughals from Afghanistan or somewhere. And these days, everybody wants to go to America. Why do people want to go and settle there? Why? Cause hunting. So history and economics, physics and mathematics, all these subjects talk about space, time, causation. Swami Vivekananda used to remark, there is a certain truth which is untouched by space, untouched by time, and not touched by cause and effect relations also. So alpha means that which is within the frame of reference of space, time, and causation. Whereas Sanat Kumara uses a word for what we normally call Ananta. Ananta is infinite. Alpa is finite. So, what is Ananta? And what word does Sanat Kumara use? Sanat Kumara says, Bhuma. Bhuma also is Ananta. Yo vai Bhuma tat sukham. Na alpe sukhamasti. In the 7th chapter of Chandogya Upanishad, in the celebrated dialogue between Narada and Sanat Kumara, this revelation is made. That which has no boundaries alone can give you lasting happiness. And that truth without boundaries is your true nature as Sat Chit. You exist and you are aware. This body, this mind, this personality, and certain status and position and so many descriptions that have come to you, they all come and go. They are not your true nature. Somebody who is fit and fine, neither obese nor too thin, stands before a convex mirror, which is bulged in front, and he looks so lean. For a moment, he gets frightened. My God, what happened to me? Have I lost so many kilos, so many kilograms? I have become so thin. Then he says, or his friend says, this is a convex mirror, and don't take that image to be representing you properly. Oh. And very next is a concave mirror. In the concave mirror, he looks so obese. Again, for a moment, he may get frightened. You and I sometimes get frightened when at midnight we get up from our bed in some room somewhere where we were visiting, and there is a shadow on the wall. Who has entered this room? And then you find it is your own shadow. When you thought that there is another person and you are here, the so-called other person limits you and you limit the other person. Where there are two, A and B, A limits B and B limits A. But in the simple example, which is like an illustration, the moment you discover that shadow is my own shadow, there are no two here, then what was Dvaita a moment ago becomes Advaita now. I alone am here. I need not fear. And you go again and go to bed and sleep. It's only 3 a.m. Let me sleep till 5:30, you say. And likewise, the Vedanta says this alpa, more than about things outside or people outside, the crux of the matter is you think of yourself as being limited. Your identification with the personality makes you think you are limited. You are bound in space and time. You are subject to causation. You are born and you will die. All these are in our head. It is all noise of the mind. The ignorant mind, the mind caught in erroneous perception. The mind has to be led to right seeing called Samyak Darshan. That mind will free you from fear, from sorrow, from a whole lot of agitations, misery, you name it. All negativities will go away and you will be happy. Happiness thus is reclaiming what was your own, and in a sense you lost. You never really lost, but in a sense it's as though you lost. Therefore, the teachings of Upanishads, while they have their own methodology, have their own way of leading the student step by step to something which finally has no steps, no divisions, no gradations, and so on. There is something called Arundhati Nyaya. Newly married couple are asked to see the star Arundhati. Arundhati is such a tiny star. And in order to see that tiny star, they first look at a certain branch of a tree, and then a little above the branch of the tree, there is a little bigger star. A little to the right of the bigger star is a smaller star, and finally they are able to see the tiny Arundhati star. So from here to the branch of the tree to a bigger star, then a smaller star, and step by step. Like that, there are methodologies, there are ways and means by which the Upanishads guide us. One of them, for example, is in the Taittiriya Upanishad, we have the concept of how you may see yourself on a certain level to begin with, on a level which is called the level of food, Annamaya Atma. The Upanishads use the word Atma. In Prakarana Granthas like Viveka Chudamani or Atma Bodha and so on, it is called Annamaya Kosha. The word Kosha is not found in the Taittiriya Upanishad. In our immaturity, when we ask ourselves, who am I? The answer we get is, I am this body, 5 feet 8 inches and 74 kilograms of weight, of fair complexion, of brown hair, of a little long nose, etc., etc. It's all bodily description. Upon getting a bit more mature, we understand that what matters is not a tall body or good-looking body. We need energies, pranamaya atma. Then we need healthy emotions, manomaya atma, which could be unhealthy, which could be healthy. Manomaya atma is a seat of both. Then we need, a wonderful intellect which decides, which judges, which chooses well, and then gives us the fuel to do what we want to do. Vijnanam yajnam kurute, and so on. Karmani kurute picha. There are statements in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Then there is the Ananda Atma. By way of proposition, it is said that in deep sleep, we are with yet another level. And thus, Annamaya, physical sheath, food sheath, or the self made of food. Kosha is sheath, like you put a sword in a sheath, but Atma is the self. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of discovering ourselves on a deeper and deeper level. And then the Brahmananda Valli talks about these 5 levels of discovery. The third Valli, third chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, more or less repeats it with a little difference. The Pancha Atmanaha, you may say. Annamayaha Atma, Pranamayaha Atma, Manomaya Atma, Vijnanamaya Atma, Anandamaya Atma. In that way, Pancha Atmanaha. There are 5 selves, but the true self is one without a second. So it guides. That is like Arundhati Nakshatra or Arundhati Darshana. Now let me say one more point and then I'll pause for some questions and answers, for some interaction. The last point I will share for now. Tomorrow's session we will explore and go deeper into this matter of happiness. The last point is how in the Taittiriya Upanishad, in the same Brahmananda Valli, chapter 2 of the Upanishad with 3 chapters, it is said that imagine a young man, healthy and having noble values, very able person. So nobody can take him for a ride, and has great aspirations and works towards fulfilling his aspirations with a certain discipline, certain orderly living. God has blessed him with all the qualities, imagine, and as a result of his wealth of abilities, skills and talents and so on, he succeeds in so many of his enterprises. Therefore, he enjoys a great sense of self-worth. He walks with his chest up and he is so happy. Imagine a man like that, a young man. The Sanskrit description goes, Yuva syat sadhu yuva adhyayakaha ashishto dradishto balishtaha. And the kind of happiness, the cheerfulness, kind of upbeatness that you may imagine in him or he actually has can be counted as one unit of happiness. Tasya anandaha Manusha Ananda. Hardly anybody is so blessed or privileged. But among human beings, 1 in a million is like that. Gifted in all respects, and is wherever he goes, he solves problems and moves on. He is an inspiration to others. Such kind of man. Now, 100 times that unit of happiness is of a certain category of beings called Manushya Gandharva. Multiply by another 100, that is Deva Gandharva. Again multiply by 100. As you know, in mathematics, when you multiply by 100, it is also expressed as x into 10 raised to 2. 10 to the power 2, 10 squared is 100. Then another 100 means x is Manushananda, 10 raised to 4. Another level, 10 raised to 6. Like that, 10 raised to 6 doesn't come. 2, 4, 6 comes, okay. So 11 levels, 11 times. Yeah, 6 comes. So 10 raised to 22. That means 1 followed by 22 zeros. 100 is 1 followed by 2 zeros. 10,000 is 1 followed by 4 zeros. 1 followed by 22 zeros, that many times is the happiness of someone who realizes her own or his own true nature. This is the way, because it describes or talks about various categories. There is Deva, and then there is Indra. Indra, above Indra, Prajapati, above Prajapati, Brahaspati. And then there is Brahma. And that Chaturmukha Brahma's happiness also is included in a self-realized lady or man, Brahmanishtasya. Advaita Brahma is not the Chaturmukha Brahma, one of the Trinity. Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, that Brahma is also very high level. But Advaita Brahma, the truth, the absolute reality, that suppose you come to know, is the greatest happiness. In this way, Upanishads have much to say about happiness. They are actually all about happiness only. Today, I believe many universities offer courses on happiness. There is a whole lot of literature on happiness. But the ancient Upanishads have done great justice with tremendous depth in their approach to this topic of happiness. Happiness is what Upanishads are all about. Suppose we say would not be wrong. Upanishads are about the truth. But in realizing the truth, you come to have the ultimate happiness. Om Rishibhyo Namaha. I believe we are over to Nitin.
Yes, thank you, Swamiji, for a very engaging, very insightful session. Viewers, if you have any questions, please type it in Q&A box. We will wait for a few minutes for receiving your questions, and then I will ask Swamiji those questions. Swamiji, as we are waiting, I think I especially liked the anecdote from Swami Puja Guruji's Chidananda about the coffee. I think that really, in a very graphic manner, captures the fact that Indriya Bhoga, Indriya Sukha, or whatever form of happiness we find, the real cause, I remember reading, I think in one of the texts, which I think it was Shankaracharya who says that what we're experiencing actually is that the object, it is not the object giving us happiness. It is that at that moment, the actual happiness itself, a very small portion manifests because of our past punya karma. That yes, in that moment, as a medium of that object, that already existing Ananda manifests. So, but we mistake it to be the object to be the cause of that happiness. So this coffee example is very good. I think a lot of perspectives on this. I'm seeing two comments. Okay, I'll just read out one of the questions, Swamiji. Uh,
Yeah.
why can't I be just happy and satisfied with the first unit of happiness itself, as specified in Taittiriya Upanishad? Is everyone expected to seek out bliss in the Upanishadic sense?
Okay. Yes, you can be satisfied with it, but it's not as easy as we imagine. Like Taittiriya Upanishad talks about a young man enjoying wonderful health, very brilliant, and full of aspiration, full of positive spirit, and so on. The question is, how do we come upon that? So, if we are able to come to that level of good health and good aspiration, good values, etc., yeah, already we are at a very high level of happiness. But there also, even that young man doesn't remain yet, he gets old. And nobody is spared from sickness, ailment, and so on. Therefore, that Manusha Ananda is not everlasting. It can be great if for a while, for a few years also, suppose we are enjoying that health. When you sometimes see top performers in various fields, even in cricket, let us say Sachin Tendulkar and in recent times Virat Kohli and so on, they must be having a great level of happiness, no doubt, because they are on the go, they are on the move, and some of them, especially in the field of sports, as we learn, are having a clean personality also. Some, of course, go astray, but some of them have as we come to learn from general reports, they live a fairly balanced life also. Temperament also is very balanced and so on. So, like that in science, scientists, in the life of any other, people in the other fields. But they do have other issues. If not during those, what they call sunny days, on hay days, after some years, known or unknown to others, they have relationship issues, they have certain likes and dislikes, they have judgments, you know, they have certain value issues, and what is more, they can come under nowadays the threat of some terrorists. Everything happens. The world is so unpredictable. The world is full of unthinkable perils, dangers, and so on. Therefore, one can stay, but one recognizes that things are slipping from one's hands between the fingers. Therefore, the quest for some happiness that cannot be destroyed or disturbed at all becomes a valid issue.
Thank you, Swamiji. Another question is, what are the antecedents and consequences of happiness in relation to Kritagyata?
Yes. Happiness in relation to Kritajnata. Kritajnata is gratitude. Yes. I already said in my talk also, Vedanta recognizes what values can do, human values. So Kritajnata is one of the finest human values. When you and I develop that value, we are more and more grateful to people, to the world, to life itself for what we have received. And we do not make an issue of what we did not get, what we failed to get, etc. Definitely we reach a very high level of peace, of happiness, of cheerfulness, and so on. Therefore, my simple answer is gratitude can surely take us to, on a scale of 10, ample gratitude, abundant gratitude, if you and I have in our bosom, then it can take us to level 8 on a scale of 10.
Thank you, Swamiji. Another question is, you have made few observations on looking inwardly without depending on any texts or anybody. JK's teachings are generally around this. Can you elaborate?
JK's teachings about looking within. Yes. J. Krishnamurti excels in his observations on a particular art of learning and growing, and that art is observing the self in movement. The self with a lowercase s, not the Vedanta's pure self where s is put in uppercase. The closest to that in the traditional literature, the word closest to the is ahankara, kind of separate self. Ramana Maharshi's aham kruti or I thought is what Krishnamurti calls the self with lowercase s. So the self is moving. What do we mean by moving? When somebody praises me, I feel so good. I feel on top of the world. That is a movement of the self. The self as though rose to height and is enjoying. When somebody finds fault with me, insults me, says some nasty things about me, the self sinks, falls down. And somewhere else, the self feels insecure. By using the word self, I am referring to that I, which goes through all this, the movement of the I. Therefore, Maharshi Ramana's I thought, I-thought, is the same as the self in J. Krishnamurti's teachings. So, coming to looking within, J. Krishnamurti's teachings are to a great extent about this being aware of how these things happen. When there is hurt, when there is happiness, elation, when there is fear. Normally, when we are afraid, our attention goes to the cause of fear. I think there is a snake in my room, let's say, midnight I get up, there's a movement and some wavy movement, and all my attention is, my God, what is it, a snake or is it something else? What is it? And where is the switch here? I don't remember where I'm in the new room. I get so agitated about what that object could be. Now, in J. Krishnamurti's teachings, you of course, you have to have common sense. You need to do certain practical things. But wherever possible, try to understand the psychology behind fear. And let me add one more dimension and close the answer to this question. Snake or some roof is shaking or terrorists have been reported in the neighborhood, let's say, that is biological insecurity. But J. Krishnamurti throws a lot of light on what you and I suffer most of the time. It is psychological insecurity. I'm going to a party and there is somebody else is coming and that person can be nasty. Some people may not be respectful towards me. Some people may turn their face away when they meet me in the party. I imagine all those and the fear of not being treated well rises in me. Now that fear can be very carefully observed. Normally we don't do that. Krishnamurti throws immense light and he actually makes such wonderful comments. To give an example, he says if you really see what is happening in your mind, whatever is happening undergoes a change by your mere seeing. Seeing what is changes what is, he says, which is like a mystical statement. But that's where he comes very close to Vedanta too. In Vedanta also, the ability to see, abilities to quietly watch, ability to understand is of primary importance. Vedanta does not give primary importance to what you may do. See, there is one thing called seeing, another thing called doing. Right? I see that this is an apple, then I pick it up and eat. So to pick up this fruit to eat or to pick up the fruit and give to somebody, these are all actions, karma. But to see and notice that this is a very nice fresh apple. It is Jnana. Vedanta is a Jnana Yoga. Like that, Sri J. Krishnamurti also is a certain kind of Jnana Yogi, you may say. I am not equating J. Krishnamurti with Upanishads, but there is quite a lot of common ground. But he certainly is an exalted Jnana Yogi, and his main aspect is observing, not observing things outside, which also has a place, but primarily observing the, the rise and fall of emotions, the rise and fall of the I. Sometimes I feel what a wretched man I am. That's one I. Another time, I am so blessed. I am so good. So this I is being described. So notice the description going on at this moment of the I. Who am I? I am bad. Who am I? I am good. Who am I? I am very accomplished, etc. So many things come, right? So description of the I that is going on in mind needs to be noticed, and more quietly you notice it, greater is the depth you can go into. This is Krishnamurti's contribution.
Thank you for the elaborate response, Swamiji. Another question we have received is, you spoke about no boundaries in Upanishads for realization, but in our life we have to put boundaries in various aspects. So how does it hinder in realizing the truth?
In functional life, in Vyavaharika Jivana. Vyavahara means you buy, you sell, you go places. You have to do 100 things every day. Boundaries are necessary. But as your Vedanta learning rises higher and higher, the scenario where everybody has boundaries, and we do put boundaries, you know, we do say to other people how close they can come to us and where they should stop, in physical terms or in other terms too. That sits lightly in the greater understanding. That sits lightly. What do I mean by saying the frame of reference of boundaries sits lightly? Suppose you are holding your hand like this, and a feather on its own comes flying and sits on your palm for a minute, and then with some more breeze, the feather goes away. And you are very delighted. You are with some friends and say, see, a feather has come and sat on my hand. Isn't it beautiful? And you yourself may, blow, and the feather flies off. Enjoyable. Like that, putting boundaries, changing boundaries as is appropriate in the functional life, in the Vyavaharika Jivana, giving judgments, taking decisions, buying sometimes, refusing to buy sometimes, right? Accepting an invitation to a party, and another day they are pressing you to join. Sorry, I am not coming, you say. All this is like the feather if you have the Vedanta understanding. Whereas if you don't have the Vedanta understanding, if you don't have a higher self-realization, everything is so painful. When you say no, you have conflict. When you say yes, you suffer. Therefore, Vyavahara will not leave us till the last breath. But the main question is this Vyavahara, giving and taking, saying yes or no and 100 things, whether it sits lightly in our consciousness or it causes agitation. So Vedanta can give you a certain inner strength, a certain wonderful way of being, where these things happen, even if sometimes they cause. Somebody comes and, let's say, puts a needle in your arm. I don't say that pain of the needle sits lightly in you. It can cause you, hey, what are you doing? And you avoid it and keep a distance. The physical pain may be there for a while. But when you have a very high degree of Vedanta clarity, you will not have psychological suffering, like hatred, like wanting to kill him. or taking the hand to your head and saying, I am so unfortunate. I am unlucky. Of 7 people here, did he have to choose me only to put that trick, etc. This kind of psychological suffering will become negligible, if not zero, when you have a Vedantic understanding. So boundaries are a must. Without boundary, nobody. Ramana Maharshi also used to say no to many things and yes to many things. He said no to gifts. People brought gifts. And very jocularly he said, no, no, don't give me gifts. Otherwise, my ashram will have no space very soon. Full of gifts it will be. So he avoided gifts. He did here his own, value system. So you and I need our values. We have to put our boundaries. Yeah.
Swamiji, we'll take one final question before we conclude the session. What would you advise as abhyasa in search of true happiness?
The abhyasa should be in modern times where you and I are living with certain realities about our society. We need an integration of karma, bhakti, yoga, and jnana. So, if not on a daily basis, in a weekly basis, ensure that you do some karma, whether it is religious work, puja, and so on, or helping somebody, being kinder in your actions. Do some bhakti, have some, on a weekly basis, can you have about 2 hours of bhakti practice? Like 2 nights before, I was walking around at night after dinner in my Bombay apartment complex. Normally, I listen to some podcast and all that with a Bluetooth speaker. I'm walking and listening to some Sam Harris or some Shankar Vedanta, some hidden brain. There are some podcasts which I like. That day it occurred to me. On one hand, I was not in a mood to hear something intellectual. On the other, I said, hey, it's a long time since I heard Vishnu Sahasranam. So as I began my walking, 20 minutes walking, I took a mobile, put some Vishnu Sahasranama, video. Not watching the video, put it in my pocket with the Bluetooth speaker. I walked and listened to Vishnu Sahasranama, trying to evoke in myself some devotion to Mahavishnu. Not easy, huh? Because we hear and our mind runs away somewhere. Don't think it doesn't happen to Swamiji's. But in between, I say, hey, what am I thinking? So, as the names of Mahavishnu rolled one after another, as I am walking, that is Bhakti Sadhana. Same way, do some yoga, like I said, Surya Namaskara or something, and Jnana. Do read 2 kinds of things. Shastra also is important, general reading also is important. Because Shastra sometimes, though it is speaking the truth, might appear outdated to us. And general reading, though it looks very modern, may not have that depth that Shastras have. So Shastra and the general reading, like presently I am reading, Shastra, of course, all Vedanta I keep reading. I read some self-help books and so on, sometimes motivational books. Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. club. It's fun also, motivates. Get up at 5 a.m. So that evening I tell everybody, get up at 5 a.m. So I am yet to get up at 5 a.m. So 4, karma, yoga, bhakti and jnana. Jnana is study, discuss with people, dialogue and so on. So I advise integration. Then percentage, which one you should do more depends on how you are made.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Swamiji, for
Thank
such a wonderful session and also very interesting, discussion based on the session. I'm sure all the viewers have deeply benefited in their own journey. Thank you very much on the behalf of Indica Moksha and all our viewers. And viewers, we will meet again tomorrow at 10 a.m. and Swamiji will continue this discussion. He will build upon what he spoke today and elaborate further in tomorrow's session. So do join us at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Thank you. Thank you all.